Good evening. My name is Lori Hunter, and I serve as the Executive Director of Madrone Hospice. We're social distancing this evening, so I'm going to remove my mask. The Madrone Hospice Board of Directors, our staff, volunteers, and I welcome you to our virtual Light Up a Life ceremony, a ceremony celebrating life, love, and light. I am very grateful to the Siskiyou Media Council for their expertise and guidance during the process of producing this virtual ceremony. I also want to thank staff who've been so supportive and eager to create an experience for all of you. Thank you, Claudette, Tammy, John, and Diana, for your assistance and your attention to details. It is an understatement when I mention that the last several months have been difficult. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed all of our lives in ways we could not have imagined. Fires raged around us, destroying homes, destroying dreams, and displacing our friends, families, and neighbors. Simultaneously, we grieve for those we have loved and lost this past year, as well as those we've lost over the years gone by. We are here this evening to honor our loved ones who are no longer with us. We are here this evening as a community, caring and supporting each other. We are here as a community, sharing life, love, and light. Please join me in welcoming Chaplain Lori Kaiser Boswell, who will give our invocation for this evening's ceremony.
If you would join me for a moment of silence and breath. And we hear these words. Like a shadow in the moonlight, like the whisper of the trees, like the echoes of a melody just beyond our reach, in the shadow of our sorrow, past the whisper of goodbye, love shines through eternity, a heartbeat from our eye. And please join me in prayer. O gracious one, Creator and source of light, as the days grow shorter, the shadows grow longer, and we long for light. We remember and give thanks for neighbors and loved ones whose existence brightened our lives and whose memories still shine. May these lights illumine the shadows as they reflect the joy and peace that love brings. Amen.
The reading of the names is our way of acknowledging the impact our loved ones have on us as individuals, but also as a community. We at Madrone Hospice are honored to assist patients and their families during end-of-life transitions. We celebrate your loved ones by reading their names. Reading this evening are Linnell Diggs, our social worker, Susan Sorensen, LVN, Susan LaGrange, LVN, and Tammy Winter, Assistant to Patient Care Services.
George Alexander, Walter and Lillian Anderson, Richard Anderson, Patricia Anglin, Catherine Anthony, Edward and June Athey, Eugene Aubrey, Jerry Bailey, Mickey Barber, Glenn and Betty Barnes, David Barnett, Arleva Beebe, Stephen Beebe, Judith Berg, Hazel Berghofer, John Berry, Bob Berryhill, Billy Berryhill, George Burson, George E. and Doris W. Betts, Ray Blankenship, Gloria Blazer, Harland and D. Bloch, Timothy Blocker, Vicky Bogue, Carl and Evie Bontrager, Ron Bortman, John Bordeaux, Bruce Broughton, Gary Bowen, Joseph Bowen, Stan Bowen, Lloyd and Cleety Bosworth, Glenn Bosworth Lowry, Christopher Brass, Ben and Louise Brazzi, Elmer Allen Brown, Marcia Buchanan, Stephen Bergstaller, Timothy Burton, Lucia Cardoza, James Carrier, Alan Carstensen, Deborah Carter, Jonathan Carter, Bob Chambers, Marie Chapman, Jim Childry, Walter Childs, Ken Christ, Bob and Janet Clifford, Doreen Coleman, James Collins, Judy Conway, Candace Kraft, Arnold Kreshrew, Alan Kreiner, Norm Cummings, Dorella T. Curran, Bud and Corrine Curtis, Dale Dasher, Beverly Davis, Ronald Dean, Barbara Diaz, Ed Delaney, Denise, Louis D. Ross, George and Vina DeSouza, Tom and Ruby DeSouza, Fred Dykeman, Norma Dillard, Dale Downey, August and Margaret Duchala, Rosemary Dunaway, Albert Dunlap, Robert Earp, Peggy Edwards, Denise Ingline, Michael Eggers, Robert Ellis, Deacon Richard Enos, Leonard Everett, Clay Facey, Jean and Les Fazick, Nadja Fletcher, and Donald Federwitz.
Cynthia Figueroa, Evelyn and Martin Fincis, Everett and Siska Fyock, Henry and Florence Fyock, Brenda Fisher, Ben Foster, Maxine Foster, Dennis Thomas Franks, Robert and Emma Lou Freeman, Don Garland, Gigi, Michael Gearys, Curtis Gibble, Raphael and Tina Gliotto, Robert Goodwin, Larry L. Graves, Jane Granvik, Sandy Goosey, Jim Hagedorn, James Hall, Margarita Hall, Roy Hardy, Norman Harkins, Gary Harmon, Ed Harris, Rodney Heiser, Judith Helt, Carol Hirschkind, Theodora Hyatt, Visa Hines, Ronald Hogan, Ann Hoke, W.D. Red Houston, beloved Mom and Grandma Beverly Hoy, Mason Holquist, Nancy Hunter, Robert P. Hunter, George Hurd, Red and Helen Hurd, Angie and Lester Hurst, Sandy Hine, Charminian and Felice, Robert Jackson, William Jackson, Miles Jameson, Phil and Clara Jansen, Justine Jerry, David Johnson, Elizabeth Johnston, Larry Jones, Janine Kaiser, Dorothy Ketchum, Terry Kiter, Bill and Susie Corda, Debbie Cottonbach, John and Helen Kravitz, Bill Kruger, Dr. Richard Lacombe, Karen Lacombe, Amy LaGrange, Valeria Lang, Bernadine Langford, Raymond and Bernadine Langford, Ben and Millie Laurent, Lenora and Dwayne Lawrence, Lloyd J. Lee, Lisa Ledoux, David Lemus, Loretta Lemus, Grace Liggett, Ron Lillard, Maureen Loomis, Leah Lovett, Marjorie A. Looper, Mary Ann Looper, Steve Lyman, George Mankins, Donald Mansfield, Evelyn G. Martin, Connie Mason, Stephen E. Matson, Sandy Maurer, Franklin Mayo, William McLean,
Bill McDonald, Bill and Gloria McDonald, Keith McIntosh, George Meek, Janice Meek, George Miles, Bob and Enid Miller, Thomas Milner, Richard Mitchell, Georgia Moulter, Joseph Moreno, Alan Morgan, Daniel Morgan, Jack and Catherine Morgan, Robert Morgan, Maureen Morrison, Eva Morton, Trucy Mott, Kenneth Mulrath, Tom Musinich, Elaine G. Neal, Robert W. Neal, Sherwin Nelson, Jodine Newman, Basil Newton, Maxine Newton, Humberto Nunez, Alan Nyberg, Sylvia O'Connor, Hazel Oland, Robert Oland, Gail Ordway, Laddie Palmer, Delinda Parnell, Scott Pendergast, Violet Penix, Stanley Perkison, Anita Person, Donald Peters, Jean Peters, Ruth Peterson, Oscar and Isabel PM, Thomas Pierce, Gary Pollard, George Papa, Ed Quigley, Betty Radeski, Catherine Ragusi, Ralph Ramey, Donna Sue Ratliff, Sergeant Major Richard M. Raymaker, U.S. Army Medical Corps, 1945. Dorothy Merwin and Kevin Rickey, Shirley Rydell, George and Joanne Rivera, Eleanor Roberts, Irene Roberts, Evelyn Rodarm, Julie Rodarm, Warren Rogers, Bob Ross, Cynthia Lynn Roll, Gladys Rossi, Theodore Rubling, Claudia Roos, Rob Salucci, Fred and Cesara Salvestrin, Estelle Sanchez, Adolph Sandal, Marlene Sandal, Louise Sargent, Cliff and Betty Sauer, Pete and Elvira Scala, Lee Shriver, Robert Schutzpolz, Beverly F. Scott, Don Schall, Leonard and Helen Shelton, Nellie Schomelin, Harold Seamus, Jim Seamus, Carrie Seamus, Alex Singleton, Starla Singleton, Rob Smith.
Patricia Smith, Vernon O. Smith, Mark Soers, Margaret Steer, Ray and Linda Stewart, Teresa Stidham, Robert Strickland, Marjorie Stubbs, Walter Stiers, Archie Strumbaugh, Pete and June Sutter, Sylvia and Leonard Silva, Norman Tarbutton, Barbara Taylor, David Thompson, Glinda Thomas, Malcolm Toms, Raymond Trigar, Bruce Tucker, Chuck Tucker, Betty Tweed, Gilmore Vanstone, Teddy Walton, David Waters, Judith Watton, Gary Wheel, Audrey Wells, Juana Wells, Joshua Weston, Kaylee Wetzel, Carol Wheeler, Ebb Whipple, Bruce White, Sharon White, Michael Whitted, Frank Whittington, Bill Wilkins, Ray Williams, Leota Wilson, Marvin Wilson, Michael Wilson, Melvin Woodruff, Sandra Workman, Larry Wright, Mary Yannickes, Fern Young, Linda Young, Donald Zink. Military, firefighters, law enforcement, first responders, and all who have passed.
We thank you so much for joining us this evening. We thank you also for your continued support of the mission of Madrone Hospice. We honor the fact that you trust us to help provide quality, compassionate care to your loved ones and to the families. I have a couple things I'd like to read to you in closing. One of them is a statement from, well, it's not a statement, but it's remarks from actually the Buddha. Thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the light of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness, wisdom, and love never decrease by being shared. I have another one. As you all know, I do a lot of the grief and loss counseling for Madrone Hospice, and this is a very special quote that is by Jamie Anderson. Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give, but cannot. All that unspent love gathers up into the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go. And finally, our loved ones would want us to know, listen to the wind and know I am near. Thank you very much for your participation tonight. It's been a pleasure.